Once again, it's time for another episode of Story Time with Muscle Inc. And today's tale is going to be about infections and abscesses and what you should do and what you most definitely shouldn't do. When gyms were open and we were all free and having fun, there would barely be a week that would go by that I wouldn't have someone come up and talk to me and ask me to take a look at something for them, or I'd be sent photos and messages of site injections that were become very sore, red, swollen, lumpy, and asking what they should do. And I'm going to share with you a tale of what happened to me, and it will definitely put some perspective into making sure you get that looked at as soon as possible. It's probably about 4 years ago now. I just done my first of the British finals, and I was going off on holiday for a little break in the sun to sort of eat a load of food and chill. And the irony being, of all the amount I was taking getting ready for the show, I'd only done for this time where I got the infection, took 1 mil of sustanon. I shot it in my butt cheek and went away, and it became a bit sore and irritant and stuff like that. Didn't think too much about it. Thought maybe I'd just hit a nerve or something, go down, and I'd be fine in a few days or whatever. But a few days went and it was getting a bit more sore, and it was getting a little bit more bigger. Again, just ignored it. It'll probably go away. Got back and was getting into training, started my off season. And it just wasn't going away. It was getting more and more painful. It was getting bigger. And anyone that knows me knows I'm someone who hates doctors. I will not go to a doctor or a hospital unless I'm pretty much on death's door. I try and avoid them as much as I possibly can. I just get on with it. So everyone was telling me then eventually, you need to start going and get it checked out. I was like, I'll be fine. Don't worry, it'll go away. Only it wasn't going away. It was getting bigger and bigger to the point where probably about 2-3 weeks in, you could see it when I was wearing shorts. You could see the lump, and I was actually having to lean forward to walk. I couldn't stand up straight anymore. And me again being stubborn as hell, don't worry about it, I'll be fine. Got to the point where it was so bad. I was still trying to train with this. I couldn't eat. I had no appetite. I was feeling sick all the time. I was tired. I was struggling to get up. I was struggling, so lethargic. Really wasn't well. So I remember the last shot came. I tried to train. I couldn't lie on a bench. Couldn't sit down. I was having to I was getting in the car. I'd have to lie sideways on the car. I couldn't sit down in the back. So again, last case, and everyone saying, please, Neil, go to the hospital. You need to get that checked. It's not right. It's badly infected. Again, my response to that was just to try and avoid to go to the hospital. Right, I'll self-operate and I'll get rid of this myself. I'll never forget so I went into the shower and I started putting needles and syringes into the abscess, and it was literally the size of my head by that point. Angry red, the colour of it, I'll never forget. And we started draining gunk out of it. And I remember the bathroom, I'll never forget it. It looked like I seen out a saw. Blood everywhere. There was gunk on the floor, pus, draining the stuff. It just couldn't, it was just so painful. Couldn't do it. So I went to bed that night, took a load of painkillers, slept. And I woke up and I had a fever in the morning. That was really bad. So eventually I said, right, I'm going to have to go to A&E, and I bit the bullet. So we were in A&E for a little bit, and they went to see me, seen a nurse, and I'll never forget it. She said, told her what happened. She said, right, drop your trousers, drop your shorts, and we'll take a look at it and see if you need surgery. So I dropped my shorts, turned around, and she went, oh my God, you need surgery straight away. Oh my God. And she went running. So I kind of knew it was a bit serious. And that was just taking one look, and so shorts back up and waiting. I remember waiting. We went early in the morning. They were trying to get me into surgery straight away. So, and in my head, I'm like, you're just going to cut it quickly, stitch it back up, see you later, and I'll be back into work the next day and back in the gym training. Still being that kind of naive about how serious it was. So then went around all day and we're in A&E, and then eventually they said, look, you're going to have to stay in overnight. We're not going to be able to have surgery till tomorrow. We haven't got a theatre bed. And I was just, again, being just stubborn as hell. And I was like, look, I don't want to be here tonight. I want to go get this done, go home. Just cut me here and drain it. And then they were like, well, you can't. You need to be asleep. This is serious abscess. It's going to be very painful. And I was like, can you drain it if I'm awake? She goes, you technically could, but you can't. You need to be asleep. And I was like, well, screw it. I said, I'm in pain now anyway. Just do it. Just cut it open, drain it, and sort it out. And I'm still in my head thinking I can get home tonight. So like you should, like we've not done this to someone who's awake before. And I was like, look, I'm good at pain. Just do it, all right. And good old John and Sue were there, and so they did. And we were, I remember in the A&E bed, and I was lying face front on the bed, and yeah, they operated me wide awake, and could feel everything, feel the scalpel going down my bum, could feel them. All the stuff oozing out, the smell was just like death. The poison that was in the wound was shocking. So the most pain I think I can honestly tell you I've ever felt, them cutting me open and forcing that out, filled up about a bucket full of shit. And then the doctor had to tell me the words that no man ever wants to hear. I'm now going to have to put my finger in the hole. And I can honestly say I grabbed the bed and I screamed the place down while he put his finger into the hole he'd cut in my ass and was pulling dead tissue out. And that's how serious it was. He then told me that there was a lot of dead tissue, like literally was eating up the muscle in my glute from the infection. It was that bad, and that they have to literally go in there and cut the dead tissue off. And I have to be asleep because there's no way anyone could be awake because there's nerves and everything there. So I kind of admitted defeat and I don't think I'll be going home tonight then, and stayed in hospital that night and was brought into surgery, emergency surgery the next morning. I was literally a day away from sepsis, which was could have killed me. So went to surgery, and it was supposed to be just simple procedure, simple-ish, and drain out everything, cut away any of the dead tissue. I was told, it'll only be 2 hours to wake up. And I remember waking up after the surgery and I didn't feel right. I didn't feel good. And I looked up at the time and it was gone 6:30 in the evening. Suddenly, like we were supposed to be out of surgery by about 12 o'clock. So I was like, what's I just kind of knew something's not right. And then the surgeon came over and said, oh, he's awake, or the nurse, whoever it was, and said, do you know what happened? I said, no. I said, what's wrong? They said, you almost died on the table. What happened was the infection was so bad, but even worse than they realised. And my blood pressure dropped and my heart rate went up through the roof. And the surgeon said that we normally at that point it's cardiac arrest. You'll have a heart attack. And I was like, whoa. And then going through my notes, the irony being, we've seen that you've used growth hormone over the years, and probably at that point I was probably used it for 3 or 4 years. And he said the irony being that's probably what saved your life or stopped you at least to have a heart attack, because although muscles get growth hormone with a larger fin, it also makes the heart stronger and it could withhold the sort of barrage it was under. So the irony being that the growth probably well, it saved my life or not, but it certainly stopped me having a heart attack on that table. And so that was an all through being me too stubborn to go to a doctor's, get some antibiotics and clear it up. So then the next day they had told me I had to put me under again to make sure that was all cleared out, because they were very concerned that it could turn to sepsis and if they missed any. So again I had to go back under again for a second time and cut me open, go through the wound. And make sure it was all clean and everything had been removed. So I was, in 2 days, 2 surgeries. I then was in hospital for 10 days, and literally I was attached to a machine With anything like an abscess and that, it's an open wound, so they won't stitch it up. It's an open wound, and they'll pack it, and it has to heal from the inside and close up. Mine being absolutely huge, I was attached to it's called a vac machine, and it was basically just draining all the fluid, all the gunk out, and the blood as well, because obviously open wound, you keep bleeding, so it was draining to stop me bleeding out on the on the bed. So yeah, after about 10 days, had enough being in hospital. And do you know how stubborn and stupid I am? I was in the toilet the night after they put that in, after surgery, squatting, testing it out, telling myself I'll be back in the gym in a couple of days as soon as I get out of here. That's the mentality sometimes. So after about a week, had literally had enough, and they finally said I'd done my antibiotics. I was on a drip for a week to make sure there was no infection. They said you can go home, but I had to have the vac to take home with me. And again, I didn't want it. You know, I'm a bit of a male proud guy. I hate the thing. You know, what in me. I certainly didn't be walking around or at home with it stuck in for months. And I wanted to get back into the gym. I hadn't trained for a week, so I was adamant. I said, "You're taking that out. I'm not having that. Just pack it." So they did that, and then after about 5 minutes of the machine being out and it had been packed, the wound touched the bed, and I lifted my hand up, it was wet. Lifted my hand up, it was red blood. I was bleeding out. The wound was too big, so they literally called the nurse over, got me up, and I'm woozy and dizzy. I lost a couple of pints of blood, bleeding out. And they said, "Look, that's got to go back in." And I figured out at that point, I was like, "Okay, I see why it's so important." So we had to put it back in, and I had to go home with that, and I had to have that attached for 6 weeks. And yeah, you don't feel too great or too sexy or attractive having a machine attached to your fucking ass, drain the fluid out of you, and all stems from having doing a shot and getting infected and ignoring it and not getting it seen to in time, and continually ignoring it when everyone else is telling you to go get checked. After about 6 weeks, luckily my wound healed very quick, and it closed up quicker than they thought, and I was able to get that off. Great feeling in the world, one of the best feelings in the world. And I went into the gym and trained, but I couldn't train legs for probably about 3 months, because every time I'd go down to squat, it would tear the wound open again. So so it was a bit of a nightmare not being able to train legs for so long, and I kind of took me a while to get back into training them, and it almost and funny enough, when I went back competing, my upper body really dominated my lower body, just because I couldn't train legs for 3 or 4 months properly. But yeah, so let that be a warning for anyone. If you do get infections, guys, if you do get soreness, go and don't wait and go to the doctors. You can normally just be solved with a bit of antibiotics to clear it up. If it does start getting pussy, and you know that when you can press down it and you can almost feel a little hole, and it's very painful and it's not going away, they might have to cut it and drain it. But obviously the sooner they do, the smaller the hole and the quicker it will heal. You definitely don't want to be carrying around a wound vac attached to you, that's for sure. So guys, please make sure you go get that checked out. It was such a common, it's like almost a weekly thing. Someone's got some sort of soreness and infection. It just happens. It doesn't mean, you've done anything wrong or anything. It could be there's some sort of bacteria on the bottle. It could be, like I said, it could be on the pin. It could, it's very hard sometimes to keep it completely clean. It's not necessarily the gears, but maybe there is some bacteria in the gear, so you just need to be very careful. It can happen to anyone, but the quicker you get it sorted, and certainly don't ignore it like this dickhead, go and get it checked. Now I was looking, I've got a massive scar along my arse cheek, which isn't the nicest, and I've lost some tissue, so there's a bit of deformity there, because some of the tissue literally got eaten up by the infection. So my glute, my beautiful arse cheek, is not as beautiful as it once was, but it's a lesson to anyone out there to make sure, don't ignore it, get it checked out. You don't want to have big scars and stuff like that, so go to the doctors, get some antibiotics and get it checked.